Testing. Okay, good. Good evening, everybody. Call this meeting to order today, this September 22nd at 5:30. We're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we're going to start. Student trustee, can you lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you.
Testing. Sorry. Yes. Can you turn on mic number 11? Oh, there you go. We never have to do that anymore.
Please start by putting your right hand over your heart and ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Moving on. Roll call, Mari, please.
President Blanca Hall,
Present.
Vice President Adonis Galarza Toledo,
Present.
Clerk
Present.
Jocelyn Vargas, Joey Acuña Jr.,
Here.
Trinidad Arredondo,
Present.
Jesús González, Silvia Paz, Student Trustee
Present.
Alexis Ramirez.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Moving on, the recognition of 6 students receiving the National Hispanic and National Rural Award from college. Thank you.
We're going to call Maria Parati up, our Director of College and Career.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President Hall, Vice President Galarza, Board of Trustees, Dr. Valentino, and Executive Cabinet. I'm actually going to introduce to you Mr. Eric Mickelson, Assistant Principal at CV High School. All 6 of our recognitions tonight are for CV High School students, and I'm going to give him the honors. So, Mr. Mickelson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, it is a real pleasure and honor for me to present recognition of 6 students receiving the National Hispanic and National Rural Award from the College Board from CV High School. So hopefully some of them are here tonight. All right, first up we have Alexia Mendez. Alondra Landeros. Eileen Andrade. Carla De Leon. Melissa Perez. And Mia Ambris. Congratulations to all of you.
Mr. Mickelson, just real quick, can you please explain to us what this award means or how they were, what did they do to get this award, this really prestigious award?
Let me make sure I got it right, so let me just pull it up here. All right, so, okay, so what I'm seeing here, okay. Students are recognized for excelling on their PSAT scores, AP exams, having a GPA of 3.5 or higher. Students were awarded either the National Hispanic Recognition Award or the National Rural and Small Town Award, or both.
I would like to add a little more because I did look up each of the students. These students all had well above a 4.0 GPA. Many of the students, yes, right? This was out of 62,000 students nationwide. Out of 62,000 students nationwide. Now, I never want to make it about gender, but I couldn't help but notice they were all female students. Let's give our females, right? Okay. And then what I also noticed, and I know I've talked a lot about this, they are all part of programs at CV High School, engineering, Kidwind, Avid, and I just can't, I guess just really speak so proudly about the programs we offer within CVUSD. They really do make a difference.
Thank you.
And I know that we're making certificates, and I don't think that they were ready in time, but we will make sure that all of you get your board recognition certificates, okay?
We'd
They're
like
going
to
to take a picture at the
with
board.
them.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're
thank
gonna
you.
do it now.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to closed session public comments. I think I have a couple of here, so I will read this little thing. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board regarding any closed session items within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. Please complete a request to address the governing board form and hand it to the recording secretary. The online form submitted electronically will be read. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 20 minutes each subject matter. So the first one I have is Marisol Juarez, please.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Marisol Juarez, and I have a first grader at Seaview Elementary School, and I just want to emphasize the importance of having police officers and security guards at our children's school, just to make sure that these kids are safe. So far, we've had 2 threats, death threats, shooting threats, that the first one didn't get addressed how we wanted it to. Parents were not aware of it until 2 days later. And the second one, I do appreciate you guys sending us an email right away. That was very good on your side. But I think we still need the security guards or police officers at the campus. When we addressed the situation, the first 3 days were fine. After that, no more security guard. There is an officer at the corner, but they don't do anything. They're just there surveillancing. They're not making sure even if parents make traffic infractions, they're not getting cited. So they're not they're not being active. So that's what we want. We want our kids to be safe. And honestly, we're tired of promises, talking that it's gonna be safer for the kids, but I don't see any action from anybody. I sent an email since September 8. I sent it to Mr. Valentino, Mr. Garzalaza. I did not get a response. I sent a second email, very upset with my concerns. I finally got a response by Mr. Galarza 2 days ago. So that's very concerning. It gets me upset that the people in charge to give my kid security is not taking the proper precaution and active at the school to make sure my kid is safe at school. I mean, the only thing that, we're striking, the day we made a strike, you guys decided to take it upon yourselves and contact restorative justice to sabotage our strike. Parents thought that was us, that was not us. You guys did it on purpose. I don't know who did it, but the school did it. So honestly, I think you guys literally need to emphasize the fact that our kids need to be safe at school. Parents are mad. I have people sending me emails. I have parents on a Facebook page sending us emails constantly saying that our kids deserve to be safe. So I just hope and pray that you guys take it into effect immediately and give our kids the safety that they deserve.
Abby Sanchez, please.
Good evening, Superintendent, Council, and Board members. Again, my name is Abby Sanchez. I am here tonight again in regards to CVU Elementary School. Again, we are requesting a school resource officer. I wanted to start with saying I do think restorative justice is a great idea. It is a great concept. And if it is implemented correctly, it can be a great practice. But after doing my own research, I don't think that Coachella Valley Unified has the resources to implement restorative justice in an effective manner. After doing research, I found that mental health advocates believe to have restorative justice to be an effective practice in the school setting, there needs to be one counselor and one social worker for every 250 students. CVU Elementary has one counselor for about 650 students. According to the professional recommendations, CVU Elementary is about 2 counselors and 3 social workers short of making restorative justice work. It appears Coachella Valley Unified pledged $4.5 million in May 2021 to mental health centers at schools. But so far, only one mental health center has been opened. Also, for restorative justice to be effective, administration, teachers, and support staff need to be effectively trained in restorative practices. For the 2016-2017 school year, the Coachella Valley Unified School Board allocated around $300,000 to restorative justice training for teachers throughout the district, as well as the hiring of 4 restorative justice facilitators. Seemingly, a year later, district officials confirmed only $50,000 was spent to go towards restorative justice, and that was for the stipends for teachers who were supposed to lead the restorative justice training at their school sites. It appears that the superintendent in 2017, who was Edwin Gomez, not the current superintendent, he said that apparently the district was not as transparent as they should have been with the money allocated for restorative justice. According to experts on restorative justice, it takes around 3 to 5 years to have an effective restorative justice setting in the school. After looking at the data, it appears Coachella Valley has not effectively implemented restorative justice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is there any way I can make my last statement?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm just basing it on the Panorama survey for spring 2022. Only 50% of elementary students in the district said they felt safe at school. That's why we need a school resource officer at CVU Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, Ray Azandula for negotiations.
Good evening, everyone. Ray Anzaldua, Vice President for CSEA Chapter 109. I've noticed that you're bringing to action changes to job descriptions with some increases to management salary. An increase that creates new steps in management salary schedule in which I'm sure they won't be starting at column A. This change would be an upward of 10 to 25% increase in salary and maybe more for some of these positions. We are still in reclass for classified, trying to actually, in most cases, add more responsibility and make sure our positions are solid for the next 5 to 10 years. We propose 2 steps in most cases, which is an increase nowhere near the management salary proposals. To this day, we still get back from the district's teams counters with 1 step or no step in pay, but all the added responsibility. Our board says they are pro-labor, but when it comes down to negotiations with CSEA, a 2 or 3% in COLA should do the trick, right? This 3% proposal from the district with guidance from the board speaks volumes to our laboring members of the district. I noticed the augmentation of requirements for management positions that reduces the requirements to obtain a management seat. Our district stands for college and career readiness, but these new requirements devalue what that means to our students to strive for higher education. And let's be honest, it's more about who you know rather than what you know. What happened to our budget advisory committee? Did it leave with Joe? Is it the reason why we haven't had any meetings due to the district hiding this kind of budgeting and proposed spending? Considering the lack of committee transparency, I can only equate proposed ESSER money spending and increased state federal funding to refresh the general fund to give opportunities, just like when the banks were bailed out, to give management pay increases, bonuses, and paid vacation getaways. What I'm asking for is a fair proposal in COLA for CSEA. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Alejandra Garcia?
Good evening, Madam President, board members. I am Alejandra Garcia, Secretary for Chapter 109. On June 30th, 2022, Governor Newsom signed the 22-23 budget, providing a cost of living adjustment of 6.56% and an estimated additional 6.2% to district local control funding formula. The classified employees are often overlooked and undervalued. They feel like they are taken advantage of when it comes to being compensated for their hard work. For example, our nutrition services and custodian members were considered essential workers during COVID distant learning and endured exposure to COVID, extreme heat, and stress. Not once did our district consider their value enough to be provided essential pay. Classified deserves their piece of the pie. With inflation on the rise, our members are paid less than certificated and management, yet they still have mortgage payments, need to put food on the table for their families, gas and maintenance of their vehicles to get to work. Prices are going up and they deserve this cost of living adjustment as much as, if not more than, of what you are approving for our superintendent and all administrators. The district purchases expensive programs, equipment, and wastes money on items that are never implemented, such as the millions that were spent on iPad carts that are sitting in all classrooms throughout the district, not being utilized anymore because new iPads are not compatible. These iPad carts are now being used as shelves and plant holders when they should have been resold to recomp funds. Whereas the district should be investing in our dedicated and hardworking members that help keep our district running. Don't just throw crumbs our way and think that will satisfy us and keep us quiet for a while with one time on salary. We want and deserve a 7% COLA on salary ongoing. We will not stay quiet or looked down on for speaking up and notice us and value us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Moving on to motion into closed session. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
President
I have a
We have another
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, sorry. We have some written ones. I didn't know. Sorry.
Ready?
Withdraw that motion.
Okay, I think we have like 8 or 9 of them submitted electronically. Lori Howard, the district is changing job descriptions to give all or most management salary increases. The district has vehicles and maintenance and operations that are over 20, that are 20 plus constantly in for repairs, and the grounds have equipment that is old and also in for repairs on a regular basis. But they are supposed to keep the buildings in good shape and the fields looking like golf courses. But they do not have the equipment needed, as the district says there is no money. Administrators keep getting hired, and now they are giving them all raises. Classified had not had a raise in 6 years, and then last year they gave a 3% across the board. This year, COLA is 6.5%, but district only wants to give classified 3% again. It is the teachers that keep the classes going and maintenance and operations that keeps the buildings functioning, but they do not get the same salary increases that administration gets. This does not seem fair or right. Freddie Flores, does not seem right that administrators keep getting hired and now existing administrators get their job descriptions changed so that they can increase their salaries when maintenance and operations has 20 plus years vehicles and grounds has old equipment, yet they are to keep the buildings functioning and grounds at top levels. How is this possible when the district says there is no money to fix this? The district only wants to give a 3% raise when COLA is 6.5%. The last raise was 3% last year, but we had not had a raise in 6 years prior to that. Seems like a slap in the face for all the workers that show up and take care of their jobs. Eduardo Tarango, let's repair the schools that are falling apart. We need painters, carpenters, and glazers, not more administrators and increased salaries for existing administrators. We need to remove all the lead and asbestos pipes from the school sites for safe drinking water, but they keep saying we have no money. Let's use taxpayers' money wisely. We need to show where our money is going. You are welcome to ride along with me, plumber, to see for yourself the needs of the district as far as plumbing is concerned. 25 years of working as a district plumber, I have never seen things as bad as they are now. Francisco Hernandez, it is not fair that the district is only agreeing to 3% when the cost of everything has gone up almost 8%. We have vehicles that are around 20 plus years and grounds equipment that are breaking constantly, but we are supposed to keep the fields looking like golf courses. If there is money for more administrators and money for raises, some attention to be paid to all classified. Anonymous, dear members of the board, thank you in advance for eliminating the mandatory weekly COVID testing, and additionally, please remove the unnecessary vaccine requirement from your list of employee qualifications. The CDPH and President Biden have agreed the pandemic is over and CVUSD will get many more highly qualified candidates without this prerequisite. The vaccine requirement also creates tremendous strain on those who are still having their jobs threatened for not being vaccinated. The threat of unpaid leave and termination has been a nightmare for us. Thank you for considering this comment. Anonymous, subject items 12.5, 12.6, and 12.7. Job descriptions and salary increases seem so unfair. Some are up 6 ranges, someone who's deciding. Some 6 range increases are for employees with no degrees. Is this comparable to Desert Sands Unified School District? Why do we compare with DSUSD? Are they correct? Who calculates total compensation comparisons with DSUSD? Because the increases on the item are not equal to these comparisons. It seems discriminatory. Desert Sands Unified School District has longevity and professional growth. Is this taken into account? Board members, I have heard you say we are different from other districts. Why are we now doing salary comparisons with Desert Sands? Please review these comparisons. They are not all equal. Ramiro Rosales. Good evening, board members and Dr. Luis Valentino. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concern. I'm currently an employee working for Purchasing District Warehouse, a department that has been understaffed for years. We are currently 3 storekeepers, one who receives all the packages and gets them ready for delivery, one who delivers all the packages and handles all the requests for service, and the 3rd storekeeper covers the mail position, a job that was cut 3 years ago. We are currently asking the district to update our job descriptions to match the current duties we have taken on, and after a year have not received an answer. I would like to make the board and Dr. Luis Valentino aware of this situation and respectfully ask that you please look into the reclassifications that were neither approved nor denied at the June 23rd, 2022 board meeting. Thank you. Eric Orduño, good evening, board members and Dr. Valentino. Thank you for your time to listen to my concern. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm currently a storekeeper in the purchasing department. Throughout the years, I have noticed the duties in our department increase. We are only 3 employees in our warehouse, and we have taken the duties of positions that have been eliminated. We would like for the district to update our job description to the duties we currently do today. For example, the property controller, mailman, and recycling conservation position. We know how important it is to the district to keep track of inventory when items are purchased. Also, when there is audits, we have access to see when and where they were purchased by asset tagging items so the schools' sites can have an accurate location for the items they bought. Also, we had submitted for a reclass and we haven't heard back, and we wanted to see an update since it's been a while now. We know our neighbor district. I know we are a small department and we can go unnoticed at times, but we are here. Please feel free to stop by anytime. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter. Jose Martinez. Good evening. I would like to make the board aware of a job reclassification concern I have in my department. I currently work in the purchasing warehouse as a storekeeper. I've been a storekeeper for the district for 12 years. In October of 2021, the storekeeper submitted a request for job reclass. The reclass board and HR at this point have not made a decision on the reclassification. This process has taken several months, and other positions that have also submitted for a reclass have not already gotten their decision. Currently, our job description does not reflect what we actually do on a daily basis as a storekeeper. Along with our current storekeeper duties, we have had to take on additional duties due to staff cuts. As a result, not only have we been working with less staff as basically a permanent skeleton crew, but have had to also do the duties from the positions that got cut. We currently fulfill the job duties of property controller and the recycle analyst. These job duties are a critical part of maintaining the school district's compliance with its inventory control requirements for audits. I would like the storekeeper job description to truly reflect what we are doing at the purchasing warehouse. I would also like to ask the board to address why the reclass process is taking so long and why we haven't received a decision. Thank you for your time, Jose Martinez. Last one, Abraham Marufo. Dear board members and Dr. Valentino, my name is Abraham Marufo Jr. and I work as a storekeeper for nutrition services. Approximately in August of 2021, the 4 of us nutrition services storekeepers submitted paperwork requesting a job description to accurately reflect our current job duties and responsibilities. In the current
6 p.m.
In the current storekeeper job description, there is nothing detailing food storage, food delivery, or anything food related. Also in paperwork, we are under the maintenance family, and yet we answer to nutrition services management. As of now, it's been a year and we still haven't had an answer regarding our request. No yes nor a no. We don't understand why we haven't been answered when the explanation for our request is a logical and fair one. We need a job description that accurately reflects our job duties and responsibilities. We appreciate all your hard work and your assistance in helping us with our request. Sincerely, Abraham Marufo, Junior Nutrition Services Storekeeper. That's all.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Moving on to motion to enter into closed session, please.
So moved.
I have Mr.
Second.
Mr. Arredondo, and second, Mr.
The other way around.
Oh, motion, Mr. Galarza, and second, Mr. Arredondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Student.
We're going to close session at 6 o'clock. We'll be back at 7? 7? I guess it says 7 o'clock. Okay, thank you. We'll be back at 7.
In an hour.
Better get it done quickly. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. We had a motion to return to open session by Mr. Arredondo. And second by Mr. Galarza. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 4.2, announcements taken into closed session, please. Okay, Mr. Gonzalez. Mute himself.
The board took action.
Wait, Mr. Gonzalez, can you mute yourself, please?
I am so sorry, so
Oh,
sorry.
no problem. It's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, moving on.
Sorry about that. The board took action during closed session to appoint Eric Michelson as principal at La Familia Continuation High School, effective motion was made by Mr. Acuna, seconded by Mr. Arredondo, and motion was carried 5-0. And the board took action during closed session to appoint Can you speak louder?
Testing.
Turn hers up.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Hello? Okay. The board took action during closed session to appoint Beatriz Gonzalez to the position as Director of Expanded Learning. This will take effect starting September 23rd, 2022 on this 22nd day of September. Motion was made by Mr. Acuna, seconded by Mr. Galarza, and motion was carried 4-1. And for closed session item 3.6, there were, just read the, here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
A motion was made by Mr. Arredondo and seconded by Mr. Galarza. The board took action in closed session by a vote of 5-0 to place employee ID number 2023-03-261 on compulsory leave without pay in accordance with Education Code Section 44940. And second item on a motion by Mr. Arredondo, seconded by Mr. Galarza. The board took action in closed session by a vote of 6-0 to place employee ID number 2023-03-262 on compulsory leave without pay in accordance with Education Code Section 44940. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Those are, moving on to 4.3. Before I call for a motion, I wanted to pull item 12.2. If we can pull item 12.2 from the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve agenda with those pulled by Mr. Galarza. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who called the second?
Either me or Mr. Gonzalez,
Oh,
whoever you want.
okay. So Mr. Gonzalez, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carried. Student trustee, for the agenda, ma'am, we pulled one item. What is your preferential vote on?
In favor.
In favor of the agenda. Okay. So so the motion carried with the the student trustee, and then motion carried by 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to public comments, and I have some public comments here. Introductory comments and requests to address the board on the items on the adopted agenda and items not on the adopted agenda will be considered from the audience at this time. Please complete a request to address the governing board form and hand it to the recording secretary. The online form submitted electronically will be read. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. Additionally, the person making the request should state his or her name and the name of the organization group presented. Please be advised that the board is not always at liberty to answer questions right away. State law prohibits the board from taking any action on items not listed on the agenda. Okay, Alicia Valladolid, please, thank you.
Hello, my name is Alicia Valladolid, and I work for the Coachella Valley Unified School District. I have been here in the board asking for support as an IMA. I work in the library for many years. When I had 45 pallets and I had to do it in 3 weeks, I didn't get no support. I come to the board, many years ago I used to come, and I stopped, honestly, because I got depressed. Nothing had changed. It's still the same thing. We're asking to give us at least, I say 10% increase, right? It's only 3 or less. Meet us halfway. How many years have we been here and asking for a raise? I'm a classified. My duties were just to work in the library. It changed 100%. I hear my members, but all my other members say, well, what do you do, Elisa? You just say, and they don't do anything, and that's correct. It is correct. Could we change? Could you meet us halfway as a classified? Our duties change, and you know that. I invite you to go. My ministers don't go in the beginning or at the end. They always come in the middle. Why? Because they see all the stuff that I have. As a classified member, I hear them. Earlier, I wasn't able to come because I was stopped at my school. I come at 3:30 and I was still working over there. And I don't say anything. I just do it because of my love of my community and my kids. I say, my kids, Mr. Arondo, remember me. I was dedicated to my school. It is not my school. It's our community and your schools. Change. We need a change. Not a 3%, a 10. Okay, we always give, but we never receive back. Look at their job descriptions. It's not the same. You heard them. And then the job description we're doing beyond that. So I know that I'm going to walk away right now. It's not going to change. But think about the kids. Think about classified. We sweat, and nothing is given back to us. Certificate is they do. I almost cried today because I saw the time sheets, the time cards. And I said, when do I get one of those? Never. Do I expect that when I retire? Never. Thank you.
Moving on to Rosa. I'm sorry, Rapan? Rosa Rapan? Rosa Rapan has 2 here. So I guess you're both, okay, Rosa. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosa Rapan, and I'm a school bus driver. I've been here since 2003. And I would like to tell you a little story. About 2 weeks ago, I go to pick up my first student after being absent for about 2 weeks because of COVID. I had COVID. And I come back and my route is different. It's not the same anymore. I didn't have high school, but now I have more kids from Valle del Sol. Now I have 14 kids for Valle del Sol. So I go to the first student, and when I arrived to his house, before that, I was told to go help with the high school. I told this dispatch, if I do, I'm going to be late. Not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, but half an hour at least. And his response was, we're all late. I'm sorry, but we're all late. So go ahead and do whatever you can. So I left. I did the high school. I was dropping off at the Mirage at 7:15, which it was past the time. Then by the time I get to the student's house, it's already 7:30. The first pickup of 14 kids. The mom was super angry. She cussed me off. You could just imagine. So I let her talk. I had two monitors with me, the one-on-one for one of the high school students, and the monitor that was in the route assigned. And so I let her finish to say what she had to say. I was kind of mentally prepared for that because I knew that was going to happen. And then I told her, I'm sorry, and she was talking over me. And she said, I'm going to talk to the supervisor, and this, and I go, you know what, go ahead and do it. You'll do me a favor. Because this was not my decision, like, many other times, right? So at the end, she was kind of calm, but she ended up going and talking to Armando, and I explained to Armando what had happened. I know I'm not blaming it on the dispatcher because he's also trying to do, what he can with what he has, right? So and that was one of the incidents that I had. And then another incident that I had is when I went to pick up this other student, the student tells me, bus driver, that girl goes to the school too. Okay, so I go around and pick up the student. The dad was very upset. He started cussing me out. Can I just go over with the other 3 minutes so I could finish this?
You have 3 minutes?
Okay. And so the dad was very upset. The dad, this parent wanted to get in the bus. He was super mad. And I told him that the reason why I didn't stop is because your child is not on my list. But I came anyways because the other student is telling me that he goes to the school. So I'm picking him up, I'm picking her up, even though it's not on the list. And, I need a student. So I just want to say something. I know Mr. Acuna meant good last time when he said, or he asked the parents for them to be nice to the second driver, to the third driver, because I know you meant well. But I just want to say, because I know parents listen to these meetings too, that most of the times it's not because we want to be late, because we choose to be late. There's many reasons, many situations that happen before we pick up the first student. And I was the first driver, the first one to go to the students. So on the second subject, I just want to mention that about a seniority list that I found of 2007, 2008, and this is in my documents. I'm the kind of person that, saves paper that don't even need, and I was cleaning and I found this. This is a list of 2007, 2008. We had 97 drivers. Can you imagine, or can you go back and count how many students we had in 2007 and 2008, and compared to the amount of students that we have now with 78 drivers? Back then, we didn't have subs. No subs. It was 97 drivers, and it was a time where it was 105 or 103 of us. It was a little over 100. And it was way better. Right now it's a mess in transportation. You have the trainers working and not being able to train because they have to drive. You have dispatchers driving, not being able to do their jobs. Supervisors sometimes are driving. And I know that you guys are already approved for 15, but this is just to show you that 15 is gonna help, I'm not gonna lie, and I appreciate you guys approving the 15 drivers, but we need way more. That's the reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank Morales.
That's why I walk slow. Good evening, Madam President, Board, Dr. Valentino, and Cabinet. My name is Frankie Morales. I'm a regular here. Nice to see everyone. Again, I'm just going to echo what my colleague said, Rosa, and my fellow sister here about the salary. Again, like she said, 97 drivers back in 2007, 2008. We currently have 78 drivers. 10 of those drivers, correction, 7 of those drivers are either out on IA or on administrative leave, and 2 of those drivers are working in the office. So that cuts us down to how many? Right now, currently, we are negative 10 bus drivers. That's including the 15 that was already approved. And we thank you for that. Hopefully, we get those fast, okay? That goes into the salary, okay? You can already imagine what 60-some drivers are doing for 97 drivers. Yes, we run late, I understand that, but we don't do it on purpose, and you guys know that. I've invited personally board members to come and see how we conduct business at transportation. I've gotten one response. Thank you, Mr. Arredondo, and I know you're busy. I know everyone's busy, but I would like to invite each and every one of you guys, from the board to assistant superintendents, Dr. Valentino, come and see how we conduct business at transportation. We've had meetings with parents. I was one. The parents see the opposite side of the drivers now, and I appreciate that the drivers were invited to that meeting because now they know our side, not just see the public side, okay? So with that, I'm asking as well, like my colleague said, my sister, 3% is great. We all know prices are going up on everything. Like she said, meet us halfway. We're not asking for much. We worked during COVID. We didn't get nothing. We didn't get hazard pay, essential pay, whatever you want to call it. Asking for 10%, yeah, you guys might say there's no money. Trust me, I know there's money being thrown around, wasted money, and it's still going to get wasted. Why not waste it on something that's going to be productive? Show your employees that you care about them. All we're asking is please meet us at least 10%, and we invite you to transportation to come and see how we conduct business. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do you have any written? Okay, that concludes public comments. No written communication. Okay, student trustee report, Alexis Ramirez, do you have your report, ma'am?
So starting off with CV High School from Herman, as what he was telling me, or what he sent. As a collective body of students, we are preparing for the new upcoming dress code policy meeting and prepared to share our opinions about the new revision of the dress code. So that is one of the concerns at CV High School, and as well as, I believe, DM and West Shores. He also states, as for concerns, the restrooms need to be observed and in the process of being fixed. Majority of the restrooms on campus have been missing soap and some stall doors are missing. We need to adhere to the Williams Act complaint, which lists school facilities must be clean, safe, and maintained in good repair. To move on to DM, their only concern is again restroom policies as they're being locked during passing periods and teachers are not allowing students to go during class. If they do go, they're missing out on material and lessons, which is not fair to the students. DM did have positives. ACs are now working in the gym and they will be having their first pep rally of the year. Students are excited for the homecoming pep rally game and dance as it approaches, as well as their Dia de los Muertos festival in October. And last but not least, West Shores High School. Some pros, the pep rally was very much enjoyed by both high school and middle school. Spirit Week was successful as well. We are still in the process. Tomorrow we will be having our first football home game after 5 years. Tickets are being sold by PBIS, which has also been successful this year more so than last year. Something they want to expand is have more items for the PBIS points, so we're looking to expand in whatever more students can buy. Home game tickets are already being sold. A problem we're having at school, subs for our English class. We are currently looking for long-term subs. We also understand the negative of no applicants for those English classes, but I know Ms. Alvarez and Dr. Ramirez are working hard on giving us the material that we need to pass the class successfully. Another positive that we have from our middle school actually is 99% of iReady middle schoolers have completed the iReady test, both math and English. So that's something they're very positive about. And I think that concludes everything. Any other concerns will be given next month, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. I appreciate it. Okay, moving on to board reports. Jocelyn, do you have anything?
The only thing I wanted to share, I did attend a meeting where we reviewed the North Shore demographic information. So once we're ready to open the school, we're looking to see what our capacity, who's in terms of grade levels and things like that. Kind of trying to understand how we will open the school and phases and things like that. So that's the only thing I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Gonzalez, do you have anything?
I just want to apologize for not being there, and great to see you guys on the camera. You all look good.
Thank you. Thank you. That's your report?
That's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Cunha, please.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, everybody. Congratulations to the new candidates for the positions. I know Ms. Sanchez is not going to be happy for a little bit over there on that side, but I know you'll do a good job. B, of course, always does a good job. Also wanted to thank the parents here that came to voice their concerns about CVU. I cannot respond to their question about board members not responding. I did not receive an email from them, so I can't respond to someone that I didn't get. But to be fair to them and so they understand and that I don't run away from issues, I've been pretty clear that I do not support bringing the Sheriff's Department back onto campuses. I mean, I respect what they're saying and I understand their concerns. I'm a parent as well. My son's out of high school now, but I do understand their concerns. I respect it, but I just felt that they should know where my position is on bringing the sheriffs back into the classroom. The other thing I wanted to mention is we're talking about the high school, some of the concerns, and I got to reach out to the students and say, lately the vandalism has been horrendous at your schools. I get emails and pictures from maintenance and custodians and the union people that were here talking. They constantly have to replace things. And so when you don't have soap dispensers or towels, it's usually because somebody broke them and then we got to order them or we got to repair them. And so it's been an uphill battle this year, probably even more than in past years for some particular reason. Now, obviously, we're going to fix them because we can't punish 95% of the students for what 5% of the students is. But I have to make a call out to the students and say, you got to help us. And I know they're your friends and there's the code about, but we can't keep up. And at a certain point, they're going to lock the bathrooms. They're going to do these other things that nobody likes, and I don't like either. But we have to, again, people talking today, we have to find some kind of a common ground here. I know there's some other issues that was brought to me by some other students from CV High School, which kind of align with this of things in the bathrooms and the restrooms. But again, it's kind of like, you can't tell me that, you didn't have any paper towels when somebody went in there and broke the paper towel thing. So we need your help. I mean, I'm asking also our yourself and all the other two trustees, you have to have that conversation on your campus with the students because we can't constantly keep repairing. And I know I'm assuming other board members are getting the pictures, and it's just kids going in there and just knocking crap down, breaking things, and just because. And so we can't keep doing that, especially in the restrooms because there's obviously you got to have them. So I do put out that to the students that we need your help. I mean, we're willing to do what we can and listen and everything, but in this particular case, I don't want to say it in a mean way, but it's not kind of on you guys. You guys got to help. Again, I know they're already gone, but I did joke about that with the parents. Don't yell at the next bus driver that comes because they're usually, the guys that are the people that are trying to help. They're the backup guys that are coming. But what I found interesting about her story was, why did they start late in the first place, right? She was asked, and again, it's not her fault. She went to go help at the high school, and then she got punished at the end by the parents who were mad, as parents will be. But what caused it to be late in the first place? How did that whole, domino effect start that made everybody late to begin with? So those are issues that we need to address, and obviously, again, it goes back to we also need their help to kind of help us make sure that people are showing up and everybody's doing their job. So I understand that they are short drivers. We did authorize to get more. And if you can find me drivers, we'll hire them. And that's the other problem is it takes a while to train them and to have them pass the test. And so unfortunately, we're probably going to be in this situation for a little longer. So I do ask parents and everyone to have some consideration for the people who actually come and pick up your students because they're usually the ones that are really helping out. I've been able to visit a couple more schools. It's been very interesting. The sites are saying that everybody's happy to be back, but that for some reason parents are really good until any little thing happens and then it gets very blown out. Or I don't know if that's just the product of our times that everybody's a little on edge for stuff. But for the most part, they say it's going okay. And to those schools I have not reached, I'm making my way over to your sites. I'll get to you in due time. Again, I would love nothing better than to go spend my day at transportation and such, but I, like most of the people up here, have jobs. So we have to pick and choose our times when we're able to take days off or, move our schedule around to be able to do what we can. So I'll try to do that as well. Other than that, I think that's pretty much. Thank my colleagues here for kind of hanging in there too. We kind of get a beating every once in a while, but as I always tell you guys, you can't take this stuff personal. People are fighting for what they believe is right, and I don't think it's personal toward us. I think it's just the issues, and so. But again, and thank all those who are emailing me and complaining, but it's okay. That's good. I mean, we do learn things from them as well. So thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Acuna. Mr. Galarza, please.
Yes. Just to touch on a little bit about the CVU and give you all an update about what's happening. And I did go to the community meeting at CVU a couple weeks ago. I was able to listen to parents, get their feedback, see what's going on. And I myself, as board member Acuna, I do not support the idea of bringing back police, right, to patrol our students patrol the school and the community, I do believe in safety, right? So since my visit to CVU, several improvements have been made that I believe will help address the concerns. One request made by parents was for more significant preparation by staff and students in case of emergencies. Student assemblies have been conducted by grade level, covering topics such as safe and acceptable behavior and awareness of surroundings. Safety drills have been scheduled. The transformational justice model has been implemented with more comprehensively and spaces for students to voice and emerge has been facilitated. Ms. Hinchin and Dr. Gonzalez have been communicating with parents regularly, including guidelines to best support the children when emergencies arise. Our teachers have held meetings on safety protocols, procedures, and effective communication. As a result, more comprehensive and useful processes are being drafted that will help keep CVU and students and staff safe. At the same time, I understand that having greater visibility of our security officers is a critical component. We have given direction to Superintendent Dr. Valentino to provide a greater presence of our patrol officers at the school in the morning and during dismissal. Our Director of Safety and Security is also working with Imperial County Sheriff's Department to have a greater visibility around the CVU community. I did, in my meeting at CVU, I did commit to meeting with parents once a month moving forward. So I look for, and I will be doing that through the site committee, site council. So I think it's important that we use the spaces that we already have available, the systems and processes. So I encourage our parents to get engaged with your site council, and I will be there. So I look forward to returning to meet with the parents again and talk about progress that has been made in creating a safer and healthier school climate. So that's that. That's the CVU component. In regards to the restrooms, Mr. Acuna stole my thunder. I was really looking to talk about that, right? I think all of us here get upset, right, when the restrooms are being closed for no reason, right, because of X and Y reasons. And I think if we go back and look at the records, right, when the restrooms were being closed for no reason, all of us here stood with the students and gave direction to ensure that those restrooms were not being closed. But as Mr. Acuna mentioned, we do keep on getting pictures, emails, complaints about our students coming into the restrooms and breaking stuff, right? Breaking a urinal, breaking a sink, breaking towel dispensers, right? And that's unacceptable behavior, right? I think we need to be better as a community, and it all starts at home, right? So I encourage our parents to talk to our children, right? Enséñenles a respetar, right? Teach them how to respect their what's theirs and themselves, because at the end of the day, that's the restrooms, the schools, the facilities, everything is the community's, right? It's yours. It's a reflection of ourselves, right? And I think we need to be kinder to ourselves, be kinder to what's ours, right? Protect it. These buildings, this beautiful building, the schools that we're planning to build, they don't belong to anybody but the community, the parents, the voters, and I think we need to do a better job at taking care of what's ours, right? Like I said, all of us here really care about our students, and we want to do our best to protect them and give them what they need. But it's a mutual agreement, right? We can't just give, and the moment we turn our eyes, right, everything that we advocated for goes to waste. So I plead, to our community, and I'm not trying to bash on everybody. It's a minority, right? I just want to make it clear for the record that I think that we have our community is made out of great people, humble, respectful, but please make sure to have those conversations with your children. encourage them to be good stewards, to be respectful to their peers, to themselves, and to what's theirs, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, these schools, they're yours, right? Where you elect us to make those decisions. But at the end of the day, todo esto, everything is yours, right? So take care of it, because if not, things don't last. I do want to congratulate our new hires. Congratulations to everybody. I look forward to your successes and accomplishments. I know that you all will do amazing work. And yeah, you know, I'll start my school visits soon. So teach principals at, you know, Oasis and Sultan City. I expect an email from me in the next couple of weeks, as I will plan to start doing my rounds. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Galarza. Okay, mija. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good night. Mr. Arredondo, please.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming today to the board meeting and staying involved. Congratulations to those new hires, or not new hires, but just placed in a different capacity. Congratulations. So this past week, I've been very, very busy. I visited Desert Mirage High School. I visited Toro Canyon Middle School. I visited Mecca Elementary School, Bobby Duke Middle School, and you can finish your thought. No, go ahead. So I visited CV High School, and so I've been very, very busy. But my focus this time was on trying to visit the classrooms. There's a lot of amazing things going on in the classrooms, and that's what I really wanted to focus on. I went to Mecca Elementary, and I got to see some amazing teaching going on. So thank you to those that are doing the work and are in the classroom teaching the kids, because at the end of the day, that's important in creating that safe environment, that learning environment for our students is just I mean, I'm glad that that's what I'm there. The biggest request that I got while I was at these schools, I think I got 3 requests. One was that they want their school painted, right? The other request was that they want wrought iron fencing. Nobody likes the regular fencing anymore. Everybody wants the wrought iron fence, the 10-foot fence that they can paint, and all around their school. And then drinking fountains, cold water for students. And those are the 3 things that I heard while I was out there, right? I know our maintenance department is working really, really hard. I just want to put a plug out there that the last slide at Coachella Valley High School is still not up for the football game. And although they have a field and they have lights, that last light might make a difference, if that ballast was there. But so hopefully that gets taken care of. So really, really thank you to the staff who took the time to walk around and walk with me through the schools. And today I visited Cahuilla Desert Academy during my lunchtime. And as I went there, saw some great classrooms. I went to the CTE classroom. I went to an English language classroom, and I went to a math classroom. And thank you to site staff there. So I've really been enjoying continuing to visit a lot of the sites. And I also thank those administrators that couldn't make the time for me, because that means that you were doing your job, right? So thank you for that. I think just want to say that. I want to congratulate the Coachella Valley High School football team. They're doing great this year, and they got a heck of a running back. And I haven't been out there to see him, but I hope to see him soon. So thank you for that. That's all I got, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Can I finish? Thank you, President. I did forget to give one quick update. Today we had our facilities committee meeting where we discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Where we discussed the North Shore Elementary School project update, and I'd like to give you all a little synopsis of what was discussed at the Facilities Committee. So our district leadership and one of our board members met with Coachella Valley Water District a couple weeks ago and got a commitment from CVWD that had a solution to provide domestic water to our site by December 2024 in alignment to with our project, and we have we're going out for bid, and we have our breaking ground scheduled, I think, already late in October, October 28th. So I look forward to seeing the community there and breaking ground to this amazing project. We also discussed the idea of running a bond for CV High School, and well, not necessarily for CV High School, but for the district that would enable us to build a CV High School and continue to do upgrades throughout the school district. The conversations are still being held. Nothing is set in stone, but I did want to report back on that was discussed at today's facility committee meeting. That's my report. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. You stole my thunder on that. But anyway, it's okay. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you, everybody. I want to congratulate the people that we just hired and promoted. I think they're going to do an amazing job, a great addition to our district. Again, I have visited schools, and the schools, everybody has their needs. As we heard CSCA, they want more money, more help. Of course, if we get more help, we spend more money, so it's like a domino effect, to get more money and more help, right? It's pretty complicated, and although a lot of people think, quote unquote, that the board doesn't care, we do care. And I want to speak for the whole board. I don't want to just speak for me. We do care. That's why we're here, and we take our time to be here. So it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of effort. When I first started here 8 years ago, we were almost in receivership. We don't ever want to go there. As Mr. Gonzalez says, it's important to have money in the bank for those rainy days, and I believe in it. And, we don't want to hire and fire, or not fire, but lay off. And so we have to strategically work with our finances and our needs. So we do care. And, I did hear Ms. Rosa Rapan, and I did hear, from transportation, we are sending out, applications. So, people don't want to work anymore. It's not only us, it's restaurants, it's everywhere. But anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent. And when I visited the schools, they want TOSAs. They want help for their teachers. They want more maintenance. It's a list of what we want. And so as board members, I think we really need to look at and plan where it needs to be. Me, not the board, I would love to give everybody a 10% raise. Can we? I don't know. That's something we have to discuss. But it's important that we be sensitive to all employees. As a board member, I think I emailed somebody, as a board member, we're responsible for every single employee. Members of the CVTA and members of CSEA, and non-members of a bargaining unit. So we're responsible for every single staff member in this district. So we have to look and be fair for everybody. And we negotiate every year with CVTA and CSEA, and I almost believe that every year we give them a salary increase, we give them a benefit increase or something. We do give them something, and I'm proud of it, and I appreciate it, and sometimes we ask for something in return, and sometimes we don't. So I really want to be mindful, people to be mindful that as a board member, we all I think we do care, because I hear the other board members saying we do care about every single employee. So that being said, we had a meeting with the demographics about North Shore, and it's coming along. Like Mr. Galarza said, the contracts are going, and so I think in partnering with the Coachella Valley Water District, I think that's great. As I've always said, it takes a village to raise our kids, and I think networking with different agencies is awesome, and I think we're working very well with the Clínicas, which is not called Clínicas anymore. We're working very well with the Water District, and hopefully if somebody knows about a sewer company, let's partner up with the sewer company. I know I know the Water District has it, but they're not there yet. So anyway, so thank you, everybody, and I really, really appreciate each and everybody, and I do care. And I do care for our bathrooms and everything. So parents, teachers, everybody, please make sure that our kids understand that the bathrooms are for them to use and not to vandalize. Thank you, I appreciate it. And then Mrs. Vargas has one more item, one short item.
I try to be brief and I tend to forget the things I should have said. But just wanted to mention this Saturday at Desert Mirage High School, we do have the Flying Doctors event that's going to be held. So I know that it's a great event and service to our community. So this will be held the 24th from 8 to 3 p.m. So hopefully residents can come and take advantage of it.
Thank you, I appreciate, that's a great announcement, a community service. Okay, moving on, Dr. Valentino. Superintendent report.
Thank you, President Hall. Good evening, board members, everyone. I'll keep it brief. I just want to mention the Coachella Valley Firebirds, as you know, are our new hockey team in the valley, has officially launched their education program, which is part of their outreach. And so this week they held, and I believe tomorrow, another assembly at our elementary schools, and they're promoting the Stick to Reading program, which is a program to encourage students to read, and they get prizes, including tickets to hockey games, but other prizes as well. They also have a community pillar, which includes an anti-bullying program. They also support a local food bank, and they have recreation programs being planned for our students and also the communities on street hockey. So that's great for our community. And the last thing is, as you know, one of the areas that had not had the air-conditioned buses was the buses that were traveling to North Shore. Well, of the 6 buses, now 5 of the 6 have air conditioning, and by next week, the last bus. So, where's Armando? Armando has promised us is by next week, every bus going to North Shore will have air conditioning.
Awesome, great job.
Thank you.
That's your report, Dr. Valentino? Thank you. Okay, moving on to information item. Consideration of resolution number 2023-13 by the Board of Education, Coachella Valley Unified School District, in support of College of the Desert to establish a branch in the easternmost part of the Coachella Valley. So the information comes from, who's doing the presentation, the informational? Is it?
Can the resolution be read out loud for the record?
In the information, do we have, who's presenting the resolution?
Well, I drafted the resolution. There was not a presentation attached to it, but it
Okay,
can
the
be read.
information.
Or
Okay, that sounds
questions can
good.
be answered as
Well,
part of it.
Mr. President Hall, can I recognize, maybe Mr. Valentino can read the resolution and we can act on it.
Yeah,
In the record.
that sounds great, Mr. Gonzalez. Do we want to post it here? Can we have it on the monitor here or not?
Is this just the information item?
No, yeah, it's an information. I
then
think
we'll
it's
be
an
taking
action.
action later.
It's an action item at the bottom.
So just as a process, Mr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry.
Should we, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just as a process, Mr. Gonzalez, this is the informational where we can read the resolution, discuss it, and then a couple of items later, if we get all the discussion out of the way, we can just simply vote on it, and there won't be any more. But this is the informational part of it. So,
yeah.
President Hall, if I could be recognized?
Sure, go ahead.
President Hall, I want to thank you for taking the leadership position on this. This is something that is dear to my heart. I happen to have went that route. I went to COD, and I remember having to find a way to get to COD. It doesn't seem like a long ways away, but when we drove down there, it was a good 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive, and it was very difficult to get there. And so I know that that's the reality um, of what our children face every day, right? Obviously, COD has been successful in building a campus in Indio, and where those classes are available for the children of Mecca, Thermo, and Coachella. It makes it a lot easier if they could visit the Indio campus, right? This by no means is challenging the effort that's happening in Palm Springs. We completely support the idea of COD being successful wherever they decide to be successful, right? Anything that they take on, I wish any project that they do great success. It's unfortunate for me to realize that when we had the opportunity, it's unfortunate because I visit the property back where they actually built a campus, if you call it a campus, which is I think it's 4 portables and a septic tank and a water supply. And basically they put it out in the middle of nowhere where no services are available. And I think it was designed and set up for failure. And I think history has a way of telling us that it didn't work out over there. I think we get to learn from that. I think we deserve as taxpayers, when we took on the bond measure, I believe of 2004 that raised over $300 million, and the new one of 2014, I believe, that raised $650 million. That's almost $1 billion, right, of bond revenue. And all I believe, I want to believe that the reason that I support this resolution is that the people of Coachella, Thermo, Mecca, Oasis, that we get our pro rata share of the contribution that we've given to the benefit, right, to the bond, right? And I believe that it's a moral obligation for COD to recognize that they recognize where the students that attend their schools are, and especially at a time when we have the environmental question of reducing the carbon footprint. It's essential that we build campuses where we could walk, where we could ride, where we could skateboard, right? And we have to put these campuses, one, where the students are at, and two, where people can get there in close proximity, and also that have ancillary services like being able to buy a cup of coffee, or being able to go to a restaurant, or being able to go to a bar, or visiting a library, right? And so I think as I have great faith in the new board president at COD. I think she's doing an amazing job. I have great confidence in the board. I believe they're going to do a great job. I think this is just a reminder. In terms of how I feel about this resolution, let it be a reminder that as we invest in the east side, that they need to do a little better job, right? And that they need to be a little more sympathetic to what the east side needs, right? And so again, I support Palm Springs. If they decide to do it in the high desert, wherever they decide to do it, I support the high desert 100%, because they have a batch of kids over there that also are faced with the same challenge of going to have to drive down into Palm Springs, right? So I don't know. I'm excited to support this idea. Again, I support the president of COD now. And I have great confidence that she's doing an amazing job, and that the board's going to do the right thing. So that's what my feelings are as we pass this resolution here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. I appreciate your comments.
Before you read it, can I also say something? So, I'm going to try not to be long-winded about it, but I think it's important to also understand where we're at in this particular time. When I talked to President Hall originally about this, I saw it more as an exercise, right? Of course, we support building out either the Mecca campus, the current one that was abandoned, in my opinion, that we build it out, and we support our students and our communities. And so it was kind of like, yeah, I'm good with it, and so I wasn't like active about it. It was just, it's the right thing to do, support our communities. That's what we're here for. That's what we represent. We're elected to represent our communities. But I was at an event earlier this week which reminded me why resolutions like this are important. I was at an event, and apparently, like all events now, the talk turns to the Palm Springs campus. And an individual who actually grew up in our community, lives out here, for obvious reasons, challenged me, like what was my position on the Palm Springs campus, right? She knows my position, but obviously she wanted to make a point in the broader crowd that was there because it was a Palm Springs crowd, it was a West Valley crowd. So as I always do, I say the same thing I say everywhere else. I said, I support the educational center being built in Mecca, pulled out. I believe that Desert Hot Springs' small campus needs to be built out. And I also believe that Palm Springs should have an educational center much like Indio does. Where I disagreed was I don't believe hotels and convention centers and cabanas or bungalows or whatever they're called, I believe that's an economic development issue, not an education one. Right? I said, you know this, but I said it anyway. And, it was like, well, they promised this. And I said, look, if you want to talk about broken promises, stand in line with the East Valley. I mean, North Shore is a classic example, and that one's on us, not us individually, but us as a district have lied to that community since 2005. The abandoned campus in Mecca, again, broken promise. So finally, and the reason I tell this part of it so you can understand what the next comment from this person was, which truly disappointed me. She said, don't you feel it's unfair for the students in Palm Springs to have to drive all the way to Palm Desert? And I was going to answer, absolutely, but before I answered, she says, and I don't have the words exactly, but to paraphrase it was, well, don't you think that the people in East Valley can simply drive 5 miles to Indio? Now, my response was, it's not about distance, it's about accessibility, access. And I reminded them that North Shore, West Shores, Oasis, Mecca, Thermal, are not 5 miles away from the campus of Indio. It was an obvious shot to the city of Coachella. Coachella is about 5 miles. But there's other people. And it just stunned me that someone from our community would basically say, and again, she said, can't they just simply drive there? In my mind, you know what I heard? Shut up and drive to Indio. Be happy with the crumbs that we gave you. It just insulted me to no end. And the reason I bring that up is because every once in a while, these resolutions are important to remind other people, yes, we will not allow our community to be second-class citizens to anyone. We are no better than anyone, but we should not be treated less than anyone. And I was elected to represent this community, right? That's what I was represented to do. And again, I added, my words was the shut up, because that's how I felt. Like when they told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, quit talking about things that are, this is important to us. And again, the disappointing, I'm used to people from other communities attacking this. I am. But this is someone who actually grew up in our community and in my mind should know better because of whatever interest she has. And she's more than welcome to her opinion. But I took it personal. So now I don't view this as an exercise. I view this as a call to action. That, again, we got complacent. We assume that everybody is fair again. We talk about equity, but some attitudes haven't changed. And I believe this is now a call to action for us to say, no, by the way, COD, and I agree with Board Member Gonzalez. I think the new president is doing a great job. I think the attitude of the board of trying to make sure that it's equitable across their area. But every once in a while, I believe that we as electeds, who are elected, need to stand up and say, hey, no, sorry. Our community deserves everything else that everybody else does. And again, to throw out just drive 5 miles, again, those of you who live in Oasis or live in Mecca and North Shore, no, it's not 5 miles away. We're building a school in North Shore for that exact same reason. Because the accessibility and the drive time and the bus time to get to Mecca, which isn't really that far away if you're looking on a map, but to the community, to have a school closer to theirs makes all the difference in the world. So I wanted to say that because, again, I started this out as simply like, yeah, Blanca, whatever, it's cool. I mean, I remember I had this conversation, I had it with a couple of other board members, but then you go to an event and reality slaps you in the face again, like, yeah, you got what you got, that's enough. And I, like Mr. Gonzalez, I've always supported an educational campus in Palm Springs. I have problems with those other things, but that has never been in question. But to suddenly tell us, well, drive 5 miles, you guys are fine. Yeah, that kind of struck a nerve in me, unfortunately. And so I also support the resolution, obviously even more now than I did before, to state the obvious, because I believe that we need to stand up for our community every once in a while when people decide that maybe we don't deserve the same as everybody else. And what have we been talking about in this board? Not necessarily equality, but equity, to make sure everybody has the resources, regardless of what part of our district they're from. If they're in Cesar Chavez or Mountain Vista, Oasis, North Shore, the new North Shore Mecca, all those kids be treated equally and the same. And so that's my comment. I'm sorry I had to kind of drag on, but I got pissed off. I'm sorry. I got pissed off.
I
with that
appreciate
comment.
it. Any other comments, Mr. Arredondo?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, President Hall. When I first looked at this resolution, the only thing that I will say is that I'm going to focus on Coachella Valley Unified School District. I'm going to focus on Coachella Valley High School. I'm going to focus on Desert Mirage High School. I'm going to focus on the elementary schools that are more than 100 years old in our district, and that's John Kelly, and that's Mecca Elementary. As a school board member for Coachella Valley Unified School District, my role and what I feel is to focus on the needs in our community. We are not wasting and so my feelings on this resolution, obviously, I don't support it, but because my focus is on my duties here as a trustee for Coachella Valley Unified School District, and it's time to get our new high school that's more than 100 years old. It's time to focus on Mecca Elementary, on John Kelly, which are more than 100 years old. And so that's where my focus is, President Hall. And so I just wanted to state that.
Good,
Thank
let's
you.
get the bond going. That's great. Let's go ahead.
Okay.
I hope everybody supports it.
Thank you. I want to start off, I'll be abstaining from the action item, more so because I am currently employed by the district, so I just want to make sure, I just wanted to, state that and be transparent about that as to why I was abstaining. I've had some time to kind of reflect on this. I've been going back and forth, talking to a number of folks. As a representative on this board, serving and representing the community of the Eastern Coachella Valley, I think for the same reasons that Trustee Arredondo, I feel like a responsibility to advocate for our students, right, our communities and our families. Not to say that, the need is not across our desert. I do see that. I think recently I attended a meeting where there was some data that was shared that it kind of reminded me and again, made me reflect about our community. There are things that, data that was shared, data around poverty in our community. Thermal, Mecca, Desert Hot Springs, Coachella, were all communities that were above the poverty level, and this was 2020 data. The community of Thermal, 35% poverty level in our community. In terms of accessibility to resources, our Eastern Coachella Valley, when looking at the map, and this is data coming from, an institution from Berkeley, pretty much from the Eastern Coachella Valley, these are things we already knew, a lack of access to resources in the community. So it made me again, make the connection to what does this mean in terms of accessibility to our students. And in terms of education, higher education, same patterns, right? We see that our families in the Eastern Coachella Valley, including Mecca and Thermal, a really high percentage of folks without a high school degree, and that, goes on to higher degrees of education, right? So, to me, I think as an elected official, I think it made me think about, accessibility. I think historically of our communities in our Eastern Coachella Valley, we've been historically underrepresented in different agencies, different elected bodies, and like, Trustee Acuna mentioned, like, even our district, I mean, we have to own it, right? We haven't fulfilled our responsibility to our communities as well. And so I think as a board, we're trying to change that, right? So in respect to this, I do have one or two comments, but I think in general, I feel for me as a leader, as an educational leader, I really value collaborative partnerships, and I really appreciate our staff who've been working really hard to further strengthen those partnerships, through concurrent enrollment, our dual enrollment programs. And so I think I really like to see how we can continue to partner and establish those relationships to create greater access to our residents, right? We have folks in Imperial County, and the reality is that they're more than likely coming to the College of the Desert. And they're in another county, right? So how do we make sure that they're also able to access quality education, and it's within their reach? So I'll share that. I know we're going to read the resolution. I think my only comment with respect to the resolution itself, we might want to, be a little bit more clear in the language, or specifically around, I think, the branches, but that's my only comment, and I will be abstaining from the meeting.
President Hall, can I be recognized before we read the resolution?
I have
Sure,
a comment.
yes, right. Can I get Mr. Galarza, and then I'll get you again, Mr.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, President Hall, for the recognition. I myself, along with some of my colleagues, are in support of this resolution. And I just want to state for the record, too, that it has nothing to do with the Palm Springs. We support a Palm Springs Educational Center. But, as elected officials of this governing body, educational governing body, yes, our main focus is here in CVUSD, but as elected officials and leaders of this community, we're also expected to stand up for the community when things go wrong, right? When there's a fire in our communities, we get up and act, right? Because it's a moral obligation, it's a moral responsibility to be there and fight for our community, even in fights that pertaining are not ours, but this is ours, right? Our students are attending this institution. Our students from Salton City, from Mecca, North Shore, Oasis, are all attending this institution, and voters across the East Valley have been also paying taxes since the existence of the COD, right? And since the existence of COD, there's only been the Mecca campus that was abandoned, and the Indio campus. But I'd like to make it clear for the record that Indio is not Eastern Coachella Valley. Indio is Indio, and our students that are traveling from Oasis, Mecca, North Shore, and even Salton City. Salton City, for example, that's probably about an hour drive, right, to the Indio campus, the nearest campus. And it'd be great to have it would have been great to have our student trustee here that represents that area to give us insight, right, as to how she feels about, but ultimately she's not here, right? But I would assume that, there's a need there. There's a need to create accessibility, access, and opportunities for our students, right? So just like Mr. Acuna said, this is a call to action for all the investments that the Eastern Coachella Valley has made to the COD for all these years, right? And COD, right, giving the Eastern Valley its most minimal effort. So with that being said, I am in support of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Galarza. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hall, for recognizing me. I do want to state for the record that in the language of the bond, at least as it relates to the 2014, I think is the date on that bond. I'm just going off the top of my head. I remember meeting with Mr. Kimmerman, or whatever his Cinnamon, whatever his name is, that's now running for the board, who used to be the person in charge over there, as he was parading around. Actually, I remember, I wasn't on the board, but I know he came to CVUSD. I've seen video of him going to Coachella. He went to Indio. He went everywhere, and he made promises to every community that if they supported this $650 million bond measure, that he was going to do what he could to make sure that they got services that as they invested and accepted the taxation, that they would get representation and that they would grow benefit. In the bond, the only cities that are stated is Indio and Palm Desert, right? So when they say the rest of it is Eastern and Western Coachella Valley, right? And that's important because as I don't want anybody, I don't want anybody to believe that because we support our pro rata share, let's even call it that, of this $1 billion, because it's these two bond measures add up to right under $1 billion, that we as responsible elected officials, as a member of the Coachella Valley Unified School District, me as a board member, I have the moral obligation to defend education at every level as it relates to my community. I think different than Mr. Arredondo. Mr. Arredondo saying that he's going to worry about CV High School. Mr. Arredondo, a year and a half ago, was the reason that we didn't pass the bond measure in Coachella and why we're talking about doing it again. He and the teachers union opposed the bond measure and we lost it by 1.5 points. So all I'm asking, and I'm not asking for anything more, if we have contributed X and then X should be invested into the areas of benefit for our children. We're not asking for all the money. We're not asking for 50% of the money. We're just saying, what have you raised in our immediate community? And we're saying, consider us, right? Consider us as you invest that money into an educational campus, right? So we're not, and again, I'm not consumed by, as I chair the facilities committee, I can walk and chew gum because I'm supporting a resolution that's going to take me 2 hours to discuss. That doesn't mean that it's taking away from how important I believe it is to build a high school that's 100 years old, right? As I speak about this, it doesn't take away from the fact that 2 years ago, I warned this body that Palmview School was going to be $30 million over budget. I'm not speaking, and there's other things on and on and on. And all I'm saying is that what's right is right. And I'm calling and all we're saying is we need to support higher education. We need to give our children that come from a disadvantaged background an opportunity to get education. And if they become educated, those children have a better possibility of working into upward mobility and the promise that is going to bring their family a better opportunity in the future. And that's what this is about. COD is a cool place for me. I got a lot of good memories there. And I just believe that it can serve as a platform to transform the disadvantaged community that I grew up in and the one that still exists because of the lack of resources in the Eastern Coachella Valley. And I think it's awesome to believe that COD would make an investment in our community that I think that's well deserved because we have set forward that money. Every taxpayer, every property owner has set forward money and made a commitment, a financial commitment. And I believe that we're worthy of them investing back into our area. And the idea of setting up a system much like the red line banking practices, right? Where they would collect money in poor communities and invest it in rich communities, like in Beverly Hills. And all I'm saying is we have contributed. We're asking for parity. We're asking for our pro rata share of what we've invested in. We bought into the idea that we supported this bond so that we could create a learning environment that could create prosperity in our community. And all we're saying is put it somewhere that is accessible to our children, right? That's all we're saying. That to me is the essence of this resolution. And again, I can work on this resolution and I can do my job well as it relates to facilities and the things that are important to us where we actually control the budget. I don't control the budget at the college, right? We have a very capable president. We have a very capable board over there. They decide how they're going to distribute the money that the community entrusted in them, right? That's not my job. All I'm saying that in spirit, I'm asking that they recognize what we've contributed and that they, as they make investments to create learning possibilities for our community, that they consider us as active partners because we have contributed.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank
make
you,
a comment?
Mr. Gonzalez. Yes, Mr. Redondo?
I just want to clarify for the record that what I'm saying is I'm going to focus on this district, and Mr. Gonzalez is right. COD has a capable board in doing what they have to do to ensure that their fiduciary responsibility to their constituency and to their students, right? I'm saying my focus is here, and if we go back and we want to talk about the past, I can tell you that there's been many bond measures that have been passed here, and there's still no CV high school, and that was my concern then, and it's always been my concern that we're spending our money the way that we have to. So I don't have to attack anybody. That is a fact. My thing is that my focus is Coachella Valley Unified School District, Madam President.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
President, very quickly, Mr. Arredondo is right. I think we entrusted the prior board to build us a new CV high school, and that money was put elsewhere. You're absolutely right, Mr. Arredondo. I 100% agree with you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We are sitting in that investment.
Right here in this little hot chair that I'm sitting on. But anyway, it's comfortable. Anyway, and back to this resolution, I just want to say that when I got the call about trying to get this resolution, I thought about it, pondered about it, and I thought about many things. And of course, I thought the first thing that came to mind is how can me as a board member at the Coachella Valley Unified School District facilitate a higher education for our kids that we promote here at Coachella Valley Unified School District in their local community. And I said, this is it. We should do this resolution. And you know, I just want to give a little history. I was a teacher here at Coachella Valley Unified School District for many years. I taught kindergarten, I taught third grade, and then I couldn't teach those grades, so I decided to go teach adult ed and independent studies. So I taught adult ed for 15 years. Then I decided to run for board, and I got elected, so of course I couldn't teach anymore. Then I got a job at COD. I taught at COD for like 2-3 years, and then they offered me a position at Mecca. And I said, oh my God, I'm going to get to see all my students at Mecca that I taught at Coachella Valley Unified School District. When I went to Mecca, students came to visit me because they appreciate me teaching here. And they said, profesora, no podemos venir aquí porque los baños no están bien, no hay agua. And my class did not have any enrollment, so my class had to be shut down. It was so sad for me, and at that point I just decided I'm not going to go teach back at College of the Desert because I felt that our community wasn't being served, and I felt so bad for our community at Mecca that I tried to go back to College of the Desert, the main campus, and I just couldn't do it. So I think that, again, it's important that that we pass this resolution because I really believe that our communities get a College of the Desert, get a community college. And I believe that if we're promoting higher level of education here at Coachella Valley Unified School District, I think it's important to, partner up with our local community colleges, because I think we're the feeding, we're a feeder to the COD campuses. And so I think we need to support, and we need to, as Mr. Gonzalez and all my colleagues here, we need to ask for our money that we've been paying taxes to the College of the Desert, and request that they look at this. And of course, the board's going to do what the board needs to do at COD, and the president. And I think that, with our cry out here, that they'll hear us and they'll hopefully respect and see what they can do for our campuses here nearby. So I do support this. My heart is here at Coachella Valley Unified School District. I was elected for here, and but I was elected as also a community member. When there's fires, we open our schools. When there's rain, we open our schools, even though it's not quote unquote academic, but we focus on the safety of our community as well. So I think that that it's important to partner up with as many agencies that we can for the betterment of our community and our students. So with that said, thank you very much, everybody, for your comments. Okay, Dr. Valentino, you want to go ahead and read it for us, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, I
Madam
appreciate it.
Regarding resolution number 2023-13 is a resolution of the Coachella Valley Unified School District Board of Education in support of action by the College of the Desert to establish a branch in the easternmost part of the Coachella Valley. Its recitals: whereas the California Community College system is the most extensive post-secondary system of education in the world, enrolling approximately 2.1 million students each year in 116 community colleges. And whereas the primary mission of the California Community Colleges is to offer academic and vocational instruction, colleges may grant associate in arts degrees, associate in science degrees, and selected bachelor degrees. And whereas the California Community College colleges also perform essential functions in the state's interest by providing workforce training and improvement services, remedial instruction, English as a second language courses, adult non-credit education, and community service courses. And whereas the state has met its historic policy of access to higher education by providing consistent state bond capital outlay resources, and whereas the success of the East Valley's economic and social future is enhanced by the educational attainment of its residents, especially post-secondary attainment, and whereas the student participation in quality post-secondary education is dependent on equitable access to comprehensive, supported, and equitable instruction, and whereas the students living in the easternmost portion of the Coachella Valley have historically had limited access to consistent and comprehensive post-secondary academic and vocational instruction, leading to associate in arts or science degrees, and whereas the Mecca satellite campus of the College of the Desert offers limited course offerings and program pathways, now therefore be it resolved, determined, and ordered by the governing board of the Coachella Valley Unified School District as follows. 1. The Board of Education of the Coachella Valley Unified School District urges the College of the Desert to establish a branch in the easternmost part of the Coachella Valley. 2. The Board of Education hereby directs and authorizes the superintendent or his designee to take all actions necessary to carry out the intent and purpose of this resolution. 3. The Board of Education declares that the above recitals are true and correct and are incorporated into the resolution as findings of the Board of Education. And 4. This resolution shall become effective immediately.
That's information.
Very cool.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Moving on to 8.1, Dr. Williams, a presentation for the additional period for CV High School DM and DMHS and WSHS and financial literacy update. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Board President, Ms. Hall, Vice President, Mr. Galarza, and Board Trustees, Dr. Valentino, Superintendent, and Cabinet. Good evening. I'm looking forward to this presentation. Put together a lot of data here, and it's pretty eye-opening and being able to move us forward. So in this, in the first slide, let's see if I can get it going. Oh. Oh, there you go. Here we go. So the expansion of the high school master schedule, when we discussed it earlier, we're looking for the additional student course selection, more electives, more AP courses, more opportunities in ELD, more programs of interest, equitable program enrollment. So that was one of the drives in the expansion of the master schedule. And here's some of the data. The data just is really fun to watch. We had an addition of 454 students that actually took an AP class. So the addition is 40% increase. So and then I listed all the AP classes that we offer throughout the district. So the AP Biology, Calculus, English Lit, Spanish Lit, Lang, a lot of great AP classes there for our students. We also, with VAPA opportunities, we increased 48% of students taking VAPA classes, significant increase. One of the things that we saw at the Desert Mirage High School, I put the picture up there, that we saw significant with that Desert Mirage band that was out on the field. It was, wow, they took up almost the whole 100 yards on the football field. So it's great to see the expansion in our VAPA. Our arts and ceramics and theater classes exploded, so we have a large number of students in those classes. So that's a fantastic expansion. Our CTE opportunities, we have 41% more students in our CTE classes, so the enrollment there. And then I just listed most of them in a general form. We have so many more classes that's kind of the pathways that we offer at CVUSD's phenomenal pathways. So again, a great expansion there. One of the really cool ones is our student leadership opportunities. We're not done with expanding here. We're just getting going with all the student leadership opportunities for students. So we've added, there was 2 that we added this year. One was added at a different school. So the social justice leadership class, great class that we've added. Renaissance Leadership was added, and Link Crew. Link Crew just got started at DM. It's going to start over at, it's not going to start, it's going to reignite at CV High School. They used to have it back in the day, but we're getting that going again. So that's a tremendous opportunity. We want to really present a lot of good opportunities for students to have in their leadership classes. So that enrollment doubled. Avid and Puente enrollment, again, those were growing. DM actually enlarged. And CV, we just started the Puente program over there, so that they didn't have one, and all of a sudden now they do. So the Puente program is growing, it's thriving. The Avid program is growing and thriving. And so those 2 programs are phenomenal for kids to go into. So in our student required courses, so this is going back to looking at, okay, so we got this huge growth. How did it actually happen? What caused this tremendous growth? And so when you look at the required classes that we have for students, they have to take 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of history, science, PE, world language, ethnic studies, and fine arts. And so now we gave the students more opportunities. Students now have a possibility of 2, maybe 3 electives in their years as they're going through their schedule with the seven period opportunity. So what I did was I just put together just what a 9th grade year looks like, just kind of a little sample. There's so many different pathways that kids can go through, obviously. And so, but just one example in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So we know students are to have to take the English, the ethnic studies, iMath 1, biology, PE. But in a 7-period day with an expansion of the master schedule, hey, they have so many different opportunities. Now they can have 2 electives. So let's say a student wanted to go Puente. Now they can also take band. So they can have band if that was what they really wanted to do. And in their sophomore year, they have puente and marching band, then advanced band, so they could really expand in their passion and also include an AP class in their senior year, so there's so many different options. I put another one together, say we have an ELD student. And so ELD students with 6 periods in a day, they couldn't take that elective, that course of passion, now they can. And so an ELD student, they could take their classes and they could take an art class or a theater class. Obviously there's, like I said, so many different opportunities. And then you can see if they have the ELD, they get out of ELD, they're climbing up, we're reclassifying them, and now they get into a CTE class and a ceramics class. So really a lot of great opportunities for students. And then I just put in here like an AP student that's really going after it with some leadership, with a lot of leadership skills that they wanted to expand on their leadership. So they have an opportunity in the 9th grade class. We're looking to add that human geography, so it's a possibility to bring some AP classes, that they could take some AP classes every single year. And if a student really wanted to load up with a lot of AP classes, they certainly could. So that was some of the options that's out there for the expansion of the master schedule. And this is some of the things that we have planned for next year. So coming up in the fall of 2020, 2022, and that's as of right now. There's going to be more opportunities. The teachers are going to come up and say, you know what, I'd like to teach this, or I'd like to teach that. And we put together a nice pacing guide. We'd put it through A to G category, and we'd write a nice curriculum. So that's as of September. These are the things that are on our growth. So the new class, or actually, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up. I was looking at this. This is not the slide that we're going into the following year. This is what we added for this year. Sorry about that. So we added for this year pre-apprenticeship construction. We added the world of work, social justice leadership, Renaissance, Link Crew, physics class, learning through the building of an electric car. That's a really cool class. You got to see that once we start getting that car going. We added Puente, as I mentioned earlier. Mandarin, we expanded Mandarin over to CV High School. And so 4 sections over there, so we have all those sections loaded up with students. We added entrepreneurship classes, English classes to dual enrollment, social studies, college and career freshman seminar. So that was in a short runway, we added a lot of these classes right there. Now this is the plans for next year too. So again, we're just getting going with our expansions even further. So we're looking, definitely we have the construction, buildings and trade. That'll be a pathway fully implemented next year for at DM High School. We're looking at cosmetology with the expansion of some of the portables and district-wide, so there's a lot of talk that's going around that. Green Academy expansion at West Shores. New science high school pathways with new resources. We're looking at piloting again this year and looking at adopting, recommendation for adoption in the spring. We'd love to add ASL, American Sign Language. That would be fantastic. Kids love that class. It's hard to find teachers that have that class, but they actually have the class at COD. We talked a lot about COD tonight, and so maybe we could do a concurrent with that. So that's a possibility. We actually wrote French. We didn't, with lack of teachers, not too many French teachers out there, but we tried to hire a French teacher. Didn't happen at this point, but it could. We want to increase our AP classes. I mentioned that earlier, human geography, biology, increase dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and expand our PE athletic periods. So that's a little bit of the 7th period elements. Maybe I'll ask for any feedback at that point. Then I'll go into a little bit. I'll give you an update on the financial empowerment that we're looking at.
No, I just want to say, Mr. Williams, you're like a salesman. You got this all down, and you know what, you're excited about it, which I like. Today I went into a Spanish class in middle school, and I don't remember when I was in middle school that I took a Spanish class in middle school. Is that something we added, or?
It's a dual language, isn't it? That's our dual
enrollment,
language.
dual language.
Yeah, so that right there, the kids were engaged. The language in middle school there, I mean, I just want to say that's a great part. And so thank you for that, and thank you for the work that you're doing on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redondo. Any more comments? Okay, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. The Renaissance Student Leadership, what is that?
It's very similar to ASB, but it's also, they do a lot of the activities on the campuses. So a lot of the school spirit and things like that.
The Renaissance Club is part of rewarding students for positive things as far as academics. So if students raise their academics a 0.5 or a 1, they try to make sure that they are recognizing them, and they also do the same for staff that's there. So they not only do they recognize students, but they recognize the staff.
Yeah, it's a fantastic class.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for presenting this. This is, an eye-opener for me, and I appreciate what we're trying to do. And of course, if we don't have teachers or it's hard to recruit, it's hard to offer as well stuff, which I understand. And I know that last time when I asked Dr. Valentino about the 7th period and what we were doing is because I talked to about not too many high school teachers, but I talked to at least 5. They were concerned about the 7th period kind of getting a slow start in classes and that we had to look at it. That's basically, they say, as a board member, you should look at it. So so that's why I requested it. And but it seems like your presentation, it seems like we're offering quite a bit of stuff. And eventually, one thing that came to mind was the Mandarin at the CV High School. I think somebody even on the side told me, well, look at the Mandarin, there's only 2 students in that classroom, or 3 students. But of course, I said, okay, whatever. But I just want to make sure that it's, pulling off and coming out. And I know it's going to get a slow start, but I want to make sure that we don't plug in kids that are for extra credit or, credit recovery. That was my most concern, that we don't do credit recovery in this 7th period. I think that was one of the things that we said when we were talking about 7th period. So anyway, but thank you very much for the presentation. I really appreciate it.
I
Oh,
just
go ahead.
remembered something when you were talking about that. The Programs Committee met, last week? Last week, and we actually just remembered that. And Board Member Galarza, actually, we had talked about, we didn't give this program a whole lot of lead time, right? To kind of really do it properly the way they normally did it. So again, thank you and all the team that did this, kind of putting it together as quickly as they did, because we really didn't give them, it's like, okay, you got 2 weeks or whatever it was we gave them. But what we were talking about in the Programs Committee as we follow this, just to make sure that it's in the spirit of what the board voted for, that we should also work together to kind of go on the offensive to make sure that students understand and parents understand what is exactly why we're doing this, encourage them to understand what we're offering, or is there something that they want that maybe we should offer. So we haven't worked out any details on that. That was just kind of a thought. We talked about some other things as well to look at, but this was one of the ideas that came out of that as to we have a new program, but we need to let everybody know exactly how the program works because, again, we've known this in the past. You have to tell them 3 or 4 times for people to really understand. And I think it's also important, and again, thank Board Member Galarza for saying this, is that we also need to get to the parents. Right? We need to get to them to let them know these are other options. And yes, while we don't wanted this to be the credit recovery thing, this does offer some of our students who are struggling to do it online or having to do it somewhere else, gives them an opportunity to catch up quickly so then they can have the other periods and the electives later on. So I think we can't forget that as well. But that is something we're talking about, to possibly put some kind of a program together. We'll bring it back to the board once we kind of get more details. We didn't need to promote what we just did. And one of the things that we've talked about this before, we're good at doing a lot of stuff, but we're not really good at promoting stuff. We got to get better at everybody, the communication, we always talk about that, as actually really promoting and telling people what we're doing and how this program is going to help the students themselves and tell the parents how it's going to help their students as well. So
thank you.
That's why
Madam President, if I can
forgot about that.
expand a little. Yes, I forgot about that, and we didn't talk about it in our reports, but we did meet, right? And a little bit about what we were talking about, and just building off of what Trustee Acuna was mentioning is, the idea is that we get on the offensive side and create a campaign, right? A communications vision campaign of what we intended to do with this additional period, right? The possibilities are the endless possibilities that we are trying to the endless opportunities that we are trying to offer our students, right? That we share with the students, the parents, the community, our vision, right? Our goals, how we envision this, right? Because if they don't know what our intentions are, right, they'll start to make their own assumptions, right? They'll start to create their own reality, and at the end of the day, I believe we need to get ahead of that, right? And help them carry out our vision, right? The vision that we've put together as a board for our students, right? And I think this is beautiful, right? Seeing the percentages that have we have over 40% across the board increasement, right? I'd like to see that at 70%, 80%, right? And I think we need something like that, a communications plan, a campaign, that we get ahead of it, we sell this vision, they buy into our vision and help us achieve it.
That's, oh my God, you are passionate.
Yes, ma'am.
President Hall, if I could-
That's great.
That's how we roll in that
Right.
board
That's
program
deep.
committee.
Well, great job. Okay.
President Hall, if I could be recognized.
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Williams, thank you for the update on what admin has done with the seventh period. I want to remind you, and I want to remind the board, and maybe it was a little bit before you were here, Dr. Williams. We took on a fight, a pretty serious fight, on trying to provide a seventh period, right? And the way it started, or the reason it started, was that we started talking about financial literacy, right? And I want to remind the board how important this is, right? And I want to remind you how important this is. Financial literacy, when I was in school, they made us take driver's ed and they made us take health. They were the two classes that were required to graduate. And the spirit of what I was thinking as it relates to financial literacy was making it a mandatory class before you graduate from CV high school. And immediately staff said, hey, well, in order to do that, the way our credit system is set up, we would need a seventh period. And that's what started, that's what kindled the fight and the convincing as it relates to our relationship with our teachers union. And for me, Dr. Williams, coming from a community where I grew up in Coachella, right? I think the most important thing that we can give our children as graduates of CV high school are the basic financial skills that'll help them grow wealth, right? The tragedy of a child getting out of school, a company offering them a credit card, and them overspending, overborrowing, and not knowing how to pay it back, filing bankruptcy, being 22, 23 years old in financial debt and financial ruin, really sets back that child and his family, right? And our children are getting married young. It is so important that our children leave CV high school. The best thing that we can give our kids, probably more than any class that we can offer them, is financial literacy. Financial literacy from the perspective of having the tools to grow their wealth, right? Understanding money, right? What is credit, right? What does credit really mean? What is credit as it relates to a mortgage? What is a fair, acceptable interest rate when you buy a house, right? What is credit as it relates to a car loan? How is it that you borrow money to buy a car, right? How is it when you buy raw property? What is a fair rate for interest when you buy raw property with no physical structure on it? What's a hard money loan? What is the exposure that you're giving yourself when you borrow hard money, right? And I think these basic tools, right? What it is to manage a bank account, right? And not overborrow. It is so important for our children. Understanding the bond market, right? What is the bond market? What is the stock market, right? What's the Dow Jones Industrial? What's the NASDAQ, right? What's a hedge fund? What's institutional financing? What does that wealth look like? And for me, everything needs to be surrounded on how we empower the graduates of CV High School with the life skills of financial literacy so that they can go forward and be very cautious on how they take on money obligations and how they expose themselves in the short term and over a lifetime, right? And that is what I believe we need to do. I don't want to know about, and I get it, all these other classes are really cool, right? Mandarin's cool. I don't care if 3 people showed up. It doesn't matter. Those are all cool classes. The conversation of a 7th period was really kindled by the question of creating an opportunity for our children to take a mandatory class before they graduate from CV High School in the area of financial literacy that exposes them to the responsibilities of what it is to grow wealth and what it is to be financially literate.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Moving on to financial literacy.
All right, you just segued me right into it, Mr. Gonzalez. And you know what? I love your word. The word you actually used, I heard you say it a couple times, and that's empower. So I actually, we like this word, a financial empowerment roadmap. So I am really excited for it too. We need to do it right. We need to do it well. We need to do it methodically so that we can really hit the topics that we really want. So let me give you a little bit on the roadmap. It's curvy. It's windy. It gets us going different directions. But here, number 1, we had the CVUSD Board Curriculum Committee, and that was last year back in April. We did a lot of financial empowerment for the CVUSD students, so we looked at that. We then put together, number 2, we put together some financial teams. And so a couple different meetings happened in May. So again, at the end of the year, we began to look at units. So I got math teachers together, Gov Econ teachers together, we got bankers together, business partners together, RCOE together, so we had a couple big meetings. And then we put a Padlet together. What are some of the things, what are some of the topics, and how can we insert them into some of the classes? Could be math, it could be the Gov Econ, it could be a different class itself. And then several classes were ready. We got them ready pretty quickly there in June. So we started a couple entrepreneurship classes. The World of Work classes is actually associated with the Harvard College and doing a lot of financial work empowerment there. We did some college and career classes started there. So that's just a piecemeal of what we really want to have. We are, I've already had a couple meetings with the teams, and we're looking at pathways, topics that we want in each one of the years. So in their freshman year, for example, we're looking at income. So big units on income, like annual wages, minimum wage, overtime, commissions, royalties, gross, net income. So when we're teaching a little bit about the percents and basic operations, divisions, multiplication, we can talk about FICA, national debt. So that would be one big topic in their freshman year. Also, second big topic is living expenses. So inflation, rent, utilities, food, entertainment, healthcare. And that's when we're also talking about percents, basic operations, word problems. So putting together projects for the students. And then the third topic for freshmen would be savings. So it'd be interest, how banks make money, opening a bank account. And so freshman year. And then we have sophomore year. We have the topics in the sophomore year. We have topics in the junior year, and then a big one in their senior year. And by that time, by the class of 2026, in 4 years, the world of work could expand. And so we're looking at that kind of pathway for students. So really being methodical and really being deep. And it's going to be a lot of professional development because Our teachers will need a lot of professional development to be able to really speak to these things inside the classroom. And so at this point, we're looking at getting in some speakers this year. And so hitting the students before they leave our campuses this year to get some of the experts in there, doing some NEPRIS. And so we have all different kinds of ideas to actually get some of the things done this year and then really go after it in the following years.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
President Hall, if I could be recognized?
Sure, go ahead.
I think this is a great plan. This isn't what I was thinking, right? I was thinking of a one semester course, almost a crash course that might include a lab where people could maybe open a penny stock account, and over the year, maybe a year class, one class for a year where they could open a penny stock account, watch what the market's doing daily, look at their stock go up and down, look at them lose money, look at some of them make money, and create an interest in understanding what the bond market is, right? And in this particular case, it could be a $20 investment. And maybe we could even find a bank to donate that $20 to them for opening a bank account or whatever, right? Or $100. Maybe we could work with a banking institution that'll actually give them $100 to open their bank account there as when they graduate. So I was thinking of a class that maybe they took their junior or senior year. I would say junior year, and it just a year class, a very condensed class as it relates to financial literacy. And I understand this is kind of a 4-year, and this could actually be infused in how we teach, but I'm looking at a very specific class that is mandatory for graduation. That is the promise or the dream that I see would have the most benefit in our working community, right? Just a single class that would touch on all the things financial. And if we got the right professors in there, and the right teachers, they could make it really exciting for these kids. And it would be a class where we would transform the life of our children if they could get out of this class and just understand 3 or 4 points of what it is, of how money works in this country. And so that's more of what I'm thinking about, Dr. Williams. I hope that you can consider what I've just shared with you and maybe include it into a class that becomes an A through G class or a requirement for graduation from CV High School. And again, I can't push it more. This is the most important thing we could do for every child that graduates from CVUSD, is to give them some kind of a basic background in financial literacy and help them open their first bank account when they graduate.
Love it. Let me give you a little thing that we just heard this last week. Every student that actually the state of California has now opened up for every one of our students that would be able to qualify for is a $500. They will give them $500 to open up a bank account. That's really, really cool. It's a scholarship count going to college and career readiness, but that's going to be coming out real soon. So we're going to try to sign up 17,000 kids to start up a bank account.
Well, maybe that's the bait that we could give them, is that they have to finish a financial literacy class, and if they finish it and they're responsible, that they can go after this $500 opportunity to start their wealth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Williams. I appreciate your time. Moving on. Action items. Action item 9.1, Dr. Luis Valentino requested approval to adopt Board Resolution number 2023-13 by the Board of Education for Chile Valley
I'll
University.
second it.
I have a motion by Mr. Acuña, a second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes, 1 opposed. Any abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1-1. So we have 4, and Mr. Arredondo, I heard you oppose, and I heard Mrs. Vargas abstain. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Motion carries.
Let's get this going.
Moving on to 9.2, Dr. Valentino, adopt Board Resolution 2013-14, authorizing meeting of the Board of Education to be conducted by teleconference pursuant. I got a
Second.
motion by Mr. Acuña, second by Mr. Arredondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on, action item, Dr. Paredes requesting approval to adopt Board Resolution Number 2023-09, sufficiency of instructional materials compliance for fiscal year 2022-23, and the certification. Mr. Acuña, I got a motion by Mr. Acuña. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Arredondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Is,
No, I'm sorry, I just answered a question.
oh, okay, sorry. Okay, David Beckham, authorization to award contracts for bid number 157-2023F, Coachella Valley High School front entry landscape and lighting project.
I'd like to make a motion with an amendment.
Okay, I have,
Give me a second to pull out my amendment. I'd like to motion to accept the base bid, not accept the 3 palm trees that have been proposed. So earlier in Facilities Committee, we were told, we were informed that the budget for the CV beautification we were being requested to approve $70,000 in addition to the budget that we had originally approved. And out of those $70,000, $45,000 of those $70,000 were for 3 palm trees, right? And I do think that part of the beautification is adding landscape, but I don't see 3 palm trees being necessary, as we are looking to one day in the very near future build a new CV high school, and maybe then we can put those 3 palm trees there.
I'll second the motion.
okay, great. So I have a motion, and maybe if we want palm trees, there's a lot of palmeros out here, we can have them donated. I don't know. A lot of people have a lot of palmas. So anyway, and some people just want them out of their yard. So anyway, back to the motion. So I had a motion and I had a second by Mr. Gonzalez. I have a comment, and I'm all for beautification of our schools. And I think I don't know who I spoke to or somebody. Anyway, I'm all for beautification, but I also am for safety. If beautifying the school includes safe, like, for example, I'm just going to bring it out, windows, right? There's a window that was really, really bad. And to beautify it is to put a window, but it also makes it safer, right? So if beautification is put it with safety, that would be good. As like this one, palm trees is not something, thank you for pulling that, but it's something that I think that
May I make
in the process, we need to make sure that we need to beautify it, but make it safe. So anyway, I hope I'm making myself clear. Am I making myself clear? Okay, okay.
I just wanted to add a quick comment because you mentioned the windows. I think one of the things when we're doing beautification, as they say, we need to differentiate between beautification and maintenance. Broken windows, messed up windows is maintenance. It's not beautification. That should be fixed on an ongoing basis. So I agree with you about the safety and the other things, but I think we need to understand that there's a category for maintenance, which is the windows. I know what situation you're talking about, the window, because we discussed that.
Yeah.
That's a maintenance issue. And for however reason that needs to get resolved, that's a maintenance issue. The beautification issue is what they've been adding and doing the other stuff, going through the facilities committee and agreeing that. So I just wanted other people to remind that don't wait to do a beautification to simply fix a window, right?
Yeah,
and those
exactly.
are maintenance issues that we need to stay on top of as well. Or the water faucets. I've gotten some calls from parents that said, there's some mold around the water faucets. Okay, that's not a beautification issue. That's maintenance issues that we need to figure out. how do we maintain these things? How do we do that? What's the plan to make sure that that keeps going? So,
And that goes for our new Palmview School. If we don't maintain it, it's not going to be beautiful for long, right? So we don't want to spend millions of dollars in beautifying Palmview when we've already spent it in, building it. So I think maintenance and operation in that department is obviously extremely important. But anyway, moving on, I'll call for the question. So I had a motion by Mr. Arredondo, a motion by Mr. Galarza, a second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0-0. Moving on to Dr. Ellis, approval to end weekly testing requirement for CVUSD workers.
as the state has changed, I'd like to
yeah.
make the motion to follow what their recommendations are, which is to end the
Okay,
testing.
this goes with the state guidelines, I'm assuming, Dr. Ellis?
Yes, so on September 13th, CDPH rescinded the August 11th Public Health Office order effective September 17th.
Great.
So we're recommending that we follow the guidelines.
The guidelines, so.
Mr. Acuna, if that's a motion, I'll second your motion, sir.
Motion, yes.
No, I have.
I have a
okay,
comment.
So go ahead. Mrs. Vargas?
This also follows like OSHA requirements and things like that.
Correct. So, yeah, we follow CPH. And the vaccination and the boosters will continue and remain, and our vaccination policy will continue, but the weekly testing will not continue.
Thank you. Motion, if approved. Okay. Got it. Mr. Redondo?
Yeah, I just had a question, Dr. Ellis, because I know that when we first started this, and I know that the rules had changed from the government, but we were pretty clear on that we wanted everybody to get vaccinated. So so what is our policy going forward?
At this time, the vaccine mandate will remain in place as directed by the board, but we will not be continuing with the testing.
So those that are not vaccinated, what will happen?
They will not have to continue testing. So that's
They
how
have,
they,
but those are only the people who have gotten an exemption.
Exemption
They're not
only,
just like
yes.
anybody can say, oh, I'm not going to, no. You still have to get an exemption.
Yeah, I just,
So for
my
new-
question was because we pushed really hard and,
Yes.
even, you might, lose your job and now you have 100 people that don't have to, test.
They don't have to
or-
test.
I mean,
unless
essentially-
they were exposed, unless they have a contact tracing that they've been exposed by someone that's been positive, then they would still need to test. Other than
thank
that, they wouldn't
Right.
do the random weekly testing that they're doing now.
President Hall, if I could be recognized.
I have Mr. Gonzalez.
It's a very unfair way to look at the pandemic that we experienced, right? To say that we used to do this, now we're going to do that. The reality is that the pandemic is changing. A lot has happened since it started, and we have a lot of authorities, be it County of Riverside Public Health, be it the federal government, be it the state government, and those are the professionals that create the parameters on how we're supposed to operate as a public institution. And I think we have an obligation to listen to what they're recommending. And I think that's what we're passing tonight, is to create a consistency between the recommendation of the professionals and us as a public institution to do the right thing. So that is why I second Mr. Acuna's motion.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. I appreciate it. Ms. Vargas?
Go ahead.
My question was, was around staffing. I know we hired, and please correct me if I'm wrong. We hired a number of staffs to ensure that we were following or implementing our, policy. What's going to happen with those staff? Do they have new roles or responsibilities? Or, yeah, just curious.
So the care rooms would still remain in effect as at this time, and we would still continue with our mandated expectations for new hires. And so as we have any type of exposures, things like that, we'll continue that, but we'll have to take a look at, as we continue moving forward, the need for the continued staffing in place.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Galarza?
Thank you, Madam President.
Sorry.
I have a question. I know in regards to the CDC recommendation on vaccines, is the CDC and our local government agencies and health experts still recommending that vaccines continue to be mandatory?
They're still recommending them being the best and most reasonable way to combat the COVID vaccine or vaccine virus. So they still are recommending that we have vaccines in place and we get the boosters and all of that, but they're just rescinding the weekly testing of non-vaccinated and vaccinated people at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'll call the question.
Thank you. So we still requiring per CDC and the state exemptions, right? I mean, an exemption filed for people that are not able to get vaccinated.
Yes,
right?
so
Okay.
employees that are applying that are not vaccinated, they would still go through the accommodation process.
Obviously, that's not a reason why we don't hire, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Do
Okay,
we
I'll
ask,
call
one
for-
question, do we ask for vaccination, proof of vaccination as part of their application documents, or do we ask for proof of vaccination upon onboarding?
We ask for proof of vaccination as part of the employment packet, so they have to provide that for us before we hire them.
Okay, then I just would like to recommend that we move the vaccine, proof of vaccine till after, right? So that doesn't, right? So that kind of doesn't limit, because now I'm in a predicament, right? Because I'm all for vaccines, I'm boosted, right? But as we move and the pandemic eases, right? There's people that didn't get vaccines, but they're still working. But now people who don't have vaccines will automatically get disqualified, right? Correct?
No, so they would apply for a accommodation meeting with us.
Okay.
And then they would apply for that exemption.
Okay, so
After the offer.
Still have the option.
No, when they apply, and they'll say on there whether they've been vaccinated or not, what happens now is we get an application or a request for an exemption. So then they would meet with us for the accommodation meeting like our current employees do. So if they haven't gotten their vaccine, then they would meet with us for that accommodation meeting, and we would determine if it's a reasonable accommodation to provide for them.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Chip.
no, I'm just still wrapping my head around this, because as much as I believe in vaccines and as much as I pushed for the vaccines earlier in the pandemic, the truth is that the pandemic has been changing, and things have, right, the pandemic changes, and as recommendations from the experts come, they're different, right? I think at the moment, we did what we had to do, and I'll stand by my decision then. But as we move forward and things ease up, I would like for us to practice a fair hiring process across the board. Yeah,
Are you
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention, so this is, I think, I don't want to say the predicament. I am fine with keeping the mandate for the vaccines in. I think the gray area for me is that I apply for a job. Now, I'm supposed to either present before I do it. In my mind, if I don't get the job and you made me do it, that's kind of the area that I would be concerned about. So I think the issue for me would be is that if you get the job and you're not vaccinated, then you have, before you actually start, you at least have to get your first shot or get boosted. Because, again, I do see the part. If you're going to work for us, but if you go through all that and you're like the runner-up, and you kind of got your vaccine even though you didn't really want to get it, then you're the runner-up and you don't actually get the job, then it's kind of unfair to them in some way. And again, I agree. I'm a big proponent making sure that vaccines, I think the reason, that we are in this predicament, as other people have mentioned and other people have let us know, is that the reason we've gotten better is because of all the people who got vaccinated, and it kind of helped kind of do all this. So I'm not backing away from that part. But I think in the one area for me is that, say I'm coming from wherever I'm coming from and I apply, if I don't get the job, you made me do it, that kind of, I don't think that's quite fair. I mean, and again, I would encourage everybody to get vaccinated, but if they have that, so I would say that and again, this is maybe another item to bring to the board separately, but that upon time of employment, they have
I think
10
we're off
days
a little
to-
bit of topic here, but.
Well, it isn't because we're talking about getting rid of
I
the
just don't
testing.
want to, make sure that we're
Absolutely bring that back.
Bring
But you
that
understand
back.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
think that's kind of what you guys are saying.
Could
Is like,
bring that back
President Hall, can we call the question, please?
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Acuña, second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor for no testing? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 600. Thank you very much. Moving on to Dr. Ellis, approval of a new job description for Human Resource Administration Assistant. Do I have a motion on 12.3?
Motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Galarza.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 600. Dr. Ellis, approve Board Resolution 2023-12 for exemptions to separation from service requirement pursuant to Section 24214.5 or 26812 of the Educational Code.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Galarza.
I just have a question.
Okay, Mr.
Dr. Alice, can you speak to this a little bit?
Yes, so there are waivers that we used to be able to hire people when they had just started retiring. They had a waiver that we could hire them. And now the process for the waiver has to go through this process as a resolution before the board.
Perfect.
I'll second the motion.
I have a second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries 6-0. 12.5, Dr. Ellis, approve of revised job descriptions for certificate in management at Coachella Valley Unified School District.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Acuña. Do I
These
have a
are
second?
principals and vice principals, correct?
I have a second. One moment, Mr. Arredondo. Excuse me. I have a second by Mr. Galarza. Mr. Arredondo?
I just wanted to make sure that this was our principals and assistant principals.
Is this, okay, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion, I had a motion by Mr. Acuña, second by Mr. Gonzalez, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 600. 12.6, Dr. Ellis, approve of revised job description for all classified management at Coachella Valley Unified School District. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a question.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Acuña, second by Mr. Galarza. Mr. Arredondo?
Mayela, I just want to, for the record, ask you a question about this impacts on our budget and the impacts that it will have on our future negotiations with our other labor unions.
So the impact as far as how much the cost is, or that we're accounting
Correct.
for it? So we are accounting for it in our financials. You'll see it as part of our first interim when we do our financial update. And when we take into account the cost of any negotiations that we're doing, we also include it. It won't be until we've settled though. So this will bring it into first interim.
So you'll bring back what was that last part?
Or for our negotiations, we'll add it after we've settled. But the cost of it, we can present it. These salaries will come as part of first interim, so we'll bring these in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I had a motion by Mr. Acuña, second by Mr. Galarza. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to 12.7, Dr. Ellis, approval of a revised job description for all confidential staff at Coachella Valley Unified School District.
So moved.
Mr. Acuña? I had a motion by Mr.
I'll
Acuña.
second.
Mr. Gonzalez, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 600. Moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board considers the motion unless members of the board or staff request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar, in which event the items will be considered separately. The superintendent, the assistant superintendent of education services, assistant superintendent of business and finance, and assistant superintendent of human resources recommend the approval of all consent calendar items. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a second by Mr. Arredondo? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Glad nobody wanted to pull a
6-0. Thank God, nobody
I
pulled
think
it.
that, well, I don't think you gave us a choice, but okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
was
So
a
I
little
have a motion
sneaky
by
for
Mr.
President, huh?
Gonzalez. Do I have a second to adjourn? Mr. Galarza, is there a second to adjourn? Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn. Okay, I had a Gonzalez, sorry, I'm like listening to everybody over here. Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Galarza, all in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0 at 9:34. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. We'll see you guys, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Like, didn't ask, just kind of went, hey, go for it, get it out of the way.
Happy Friday, Junior.